Hello, it is 3 p.m. in Moscow. It's midday in Paris. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One, live from London. It was supposed to be a foregone conclusion, but Russia's election turned out to be more interesting than that. Voters in the parliamentary poll dealt Vladimir Putin's United Russia Party a significant blow. With 96% of votes counted, election officials say United Russia got 49.5% of the vote. That's a far cry from the 67% it won 4 years ago. The drop in support will be a shock to Prime Minister Putin, who's planning to return to the presidency next year. Sunday's election had been widely regarded as a test of his popularity. Despite the setback, United Russia is still on course for overall victory. It is well ahead of the Communist Party, which is set to come second with just over 19% of the vote. Well, the election watchdog Golo says it has received around 1,000 reports of voting violations and says that at one point its website came under cyber attack. But despite this, some analysts believe the country's electoral process is moving forward.
It seems that at any rate, this election campaign was much more lively, and we had a lot of debates.
Well, we want to bring in more analysis with CNN's senior international correspondent Matthew Chance. He spent the last few years in Moscow for CNN. He joins us now live here in the studio. So it is a bit of a blow when we talk about popularity for Putin.
I think it is, yes. He will have woken up and seen these election results, or rather watched them coming in. And I think that Vladimir Putin would have been very disappointed. He's simply not used.
Thank you very much for that. Tearing up the treaty, French and German leaders are holding crisis talks to try and thrash out a plan to change the way the Eurozone works. Germany's Angela Merkel says there's only one way to prevent a repeat of the debt crisis: take the ultimate authority over spending away from national governments and give it to a central body. And that would mean altering the treaty on which the EU is built. The meeting between Chancellor Merkel and French President Nicolas Sarkozy is expected to get underway in just over an hour from now in Paris. Well, the two leaders are under huge pressure to produce results. CNN's Nina dos Santos joins us now from Paris. Nina, this is the beginning, it's the start of a crucial week.
Yeah, that's right, Monita. We've got a whole bunch of summits coming up, and it's going to be culminating in the final summit of the year of those heads of state and government.
Thank you, Nina dos Santos there in Paris. You are watching World One live from London. Coming up, 10 years ago, they were planning on life without the Taliban. The future of Afghanistan is on the table at a major conference in Germany happening right now. It's 10 years since Afghan leaders first mapped out life without the Taliban in the immediate aftermath of the NATO-led invasion. To attend after a NATO strike killed 24 of its soldiers. Well, let's go now to CNN's Fred Pleitgen, who is at CNN Berlin. Let's start, first of all, about this conference in Bonn. There, Fred, we understand that President Hamid Karzai, the Afghan president, did speak. What did he have to say?
Well, he said that Afghanistan is going to need a lot of help going forward. Essentially, what this conference is about, Monita, is mapping out Afghanistan's future.
Okay, Fred, thank you. Fred Pleitgen there in Berlin. The U.S. has lost one of its unmanned spy planes close to the Afghan-Iranian border, and Iran says it has shot one down, but so far we can't be sure exactly what actually happened or where. According to Iran, it brought down a U.S. drone over Iranian territory. NATO is merely saying it lost control of one of its aircraft last week during a mission over western Afghanistan. Well, CNN's senior international correspondent Nick Robertson joins us now in the studio. This is really interesting because we're not getting a really clear picture, unsurprisingly, about what actually happened to this aircraft/drone.
What the Iranians are saying is that they spotted it in their airspace and they brought it down.
Egypt's complex election process moves into a new phase just over a week after voters cast their ballots for members of parliament. Leading candidates now face runoff races in seats where there was no clear winner. The election to the lower house of parliament is the first since the February uprising that forced out Hosni Mubarak. Well, the Egyptian elections can be complicated for the uninitiated, so to explain how it works and where we go from here, CNN's Jim Clancy joins us now live from Cairo. Take it away, Jim.
Well, you know, today in Cairo and 8 other cities, locations, they're...
On you there, Jim, there in Cairo. Thank you so much. A dirty trade in diamonds is about to become a lot murkier. Coming up, we'll look into what one NGO is calling the return of the blood diamond. And Mikhail Gorbachev speaking to CNN's Frederick Pleitgen. The former president of Ivory Coast is to appear before the International Criminal Court in just under 2 hours. Laurent Gbagbo will face judges at The Hague for the first time over his role in post-election violence that killed thousands of people. Knowing these kind of trials, they're quite long, drawn-out affairs.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much. Now, if you've ever purchased a diamond, you'll know that one of the main concerns is to ensure that it's not a blood diamond. The Kimberley process was introduced 10 years ago to ensure that no conflict diamonds entered the market, but the advocacy group Global Witness says that's not the case anymore. Zimbabwe has denied all allegations of human rights abuses in the mining fields. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has won a temporary legal victory in his effort to fight extradition to Sweden. Assange is wanted by Swedish authorities for questioning over sexual assault charges against 2 Swedish women more than a year ago. CNN's Atika Schubert joins us now live in London with the very latest on that. Atika, this was potentially going to be his last block if he didn't get that win over the High Court, but it seems as though he's got a bit of a reprieve.
Definitely seems he has gotten something of a reprieve. Basically, what the judges ruled was that although he cannot appeal to the High Court, he can appeal directly to the Supreme Court. They said that that their lawyers have his lawyers have convinced them that there is a wider public interest.
Thank you, Atika Schubert, there at the High Courts here in London. This is World One live from London. It's a long time since Tiger Woods had something to smile about, but the former world #1 is happy again. Don Riddell brings us some of the happy details.
Willing to do so. Happy to do so. Monita, thanks very much. It has taken 26 starts and 749 days, but Tiger Woods' winless run is now over on Sunday. Pretty cool guy.
Yeah, good story there. All right, Don, thank you very much. Well, you are watching World One live from London. From status symbols to scrap metal, how did a dozen of the world's most expensive cars end up in pieces on a Japanese highway? This is World One live from London. We are approaching almost 7 a.m. in New York, almost 1 p.m. in Berlin, and it's almost 9 p.m. in Tokyo. Heavy rains are hitting Vietnam, and it's finally snowing in the Alps. Meteorologist Ivan Cabrera has both ends covered. He joins us now from the World Weather Center with that. Ivan.
Good to see you, Monita. It is almost just 7 a.m. here on the East Coast. If you are flying into the West Coast of the United States, we're going to be talking about some significant winds there in the Alps. Monita, to you.
And I guess a lot of kids will want to know if they're going to have a white Christmas here in the Northern Hemisphere, so fingers crossed for that.
Indeed.
Ivan, thank you very much. Now, from the pages of a book to the London stage, and now onto the silver screen. War Horse is galloping into the cinema just in time for Christmas. The movie had its premiere in New York on Sunday, and the buzz has already begun. Steven Spielberg's take on the first World War story is being tipped for an Oscar nomination. Another big talking point here. This lady there, a superstar of the Super Bowl, Madonna, will face her biggest audience ever at the halftime show of American football's biggest game. She'll be taking center stage, flanked by performers from the Cirque du Soleil. Next February's show is being billed as the most widely watched musical event of the year. 162 million people tuned in to the last Super Bowl in the U.S. alone. And you got to check this out. It's how long does it take? There's a question to turn millions of dollars worth of Ferraris into scrap metal. Well, it turns out just a few seconds. More than a dozen luxury cars were wrecked on a Japanese highway in what's being described as the world's most expensive crash. The drivers were mostly foreign car enthusiasts in an event that was called the Gathering of Narcissists. Miraculously, none of them were seriously injured. You are watching World One live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. We want to leave you now with a look at a very special delivery. 2 pandas arriving in Scotland from China.